everyone. So my name's Andy Carvel. I'm co-founder at mobile growth consultancy called Feature, based in Berlin.
I'm Jessica, and I work in Blinkist, a mobile app based here in Berlin as well.
And Jessica and I host this very occasional podcast series called Mobile Growth Nightmares.
I think we made like eight episodes in 2 years, but it's because it's like, it's like juicy.
Which
the content
it's
is
all about
juicy.
the quality. It's
exactly.
Quality over quantity. Yeah, we're very busy. It's kind of a fun project for us. It's we don't take it too seriously, but. What we do, for those of you not familiar with the concept, we talk to people from the industry, people who are working mobile marketing, and we ask them to share, instead of the success stories and the case studies that you see often at in presentations, we ask people to share their growth fuck-ups, things where they did something, they made a mistake, they learned something from it, hopefully, and I think behind every success there are multiple mistakes. And you can often learn more from the mistakes than you can from the successes. So that's kind of the whole theme of the podcast. So we're recording this live today on stage at APS in Berlin. And this will go out at some point onto iTunes, etc. So for those listening at home, we're here at the wonderful Hotel Adlon Kempinski in Berlin. It's a wonderful time of year because they have the Christmas tree up. It's really one of my highlights of the year to come to this conference, and we're here in front of a live audience.
And thank you so much, APS, again for inviting us for the second year in a row. So I guess we're not so bad at the end. And they put us in the afternoon just before the cocktail, so I think it's a good sign. And today we have two amazing guests. We have Dora and Belen. We're really excited to have you here. Thank you so much. And I think as a first step, I think you probably have seen them around. Maybe you already know them. But we want to ask you a little bit about your background. So where do you work right now? What's your story? What's your day life job? Also the nightlife job if you want.
Okay, daylight job first. Hi, my name is Belen. I work at Babbel. I lead the product marketing team. We, in a nutshell, strengthen the beginning and the end of our product development process. I can tell you a bit more about that, but we work very closely with product, very closely with marketing as well. Before that, I worked at SoundCloud with Andy and a few others.
Yeah, we have a strong SoundCloud theme today on this podcast. So
continuing the legacy. It's very hard because very good legacy.
I'm the only outsider, so I may leave the stage now, but that's true.
So Belen and I used to be colleagues at SoundCloud back in the day, and now Dora's there as well. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dora, and I work at SoundCloud. I work in growth and optimization role. It means that I'm more from the marketing side, so I'm taking care of the entire funnel, the entire user journey. What it means exactly, it's I am making sure that the user has a seamless journey from how we acquire the user, being paid or organic, and then how do we retain the user with CRM campaigns, and then how do we monetize the user via promotions. So all of this entire marketing funnel, it's something I'm working on. My journey started 8 years ago. I started in gaming, probably the best place to start in mobile because the things you can do there in performance marketing, I've never experienced across other app categories. And then I worked for 3 years for a company called Here Technologies for their application Here We Go. It's a navigation app that helps you to get from A to B. And then in between all of these experiences, I briefly switched to B2B, which was another very nice one. And here I am today with SoundCloud.
Nice. The first question that I have actually is I think both of you are kind of between two teams, between the marketing team and the product team. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is really close to my heart right now because we're doing the planning for next year and it's a fucking mess. So I just want to understand better. How is the team structured and where exactly do you sit? Is more on the marketing side or more on the product side?
Yeah. So specifically in our case is like this. So I belong technically to the marketing team. I'm reporting to our head of marketing sitting in New York, and I'm obviously working a lot with my marketing team. However, my extended team is the growth team. So the growth team, the way it works right now is that we have people coming from different teams. So we have, let's say, a couple of engineers coming from the engineering team. We have a designer from the design team, a marketing person, myself from the marketing, and a product manager. Product manager is just like leading the entire team. So my extended team is the growth team. So you're absolutely right. I'm in between these two teams. So I have basically two teams.
What about you, Belen?
We are part of the marketing organization. We are divided. I would say almost 50% of the team works very closely with product. Part of our product experience areas, which you can translate a little bit to what could be squads in other organization. If you think a cross-functional unit of product-related experts, half of the team is there. The other half of the team works very closely with marketing. So early in the setup of the team, we recognize it's really not just hard, but a lot of work to be doing both ends all the time. And we chose to specialize a little bit.
Did it work since day zero, or you had to, make it work slowly?
Oh no, like I don't know of anything that works from day zero. I would say we gained responsibility as the team grew as well. Also, realistically, we could have not done the amount of work that we do right now with when we started, which we were 2 people. And we adapted our setup to how our product organization evolved. Our product organization was very much per platform before, per products, let's say. And then beginning of this year, we moved to a setup that was more aligning with the user journey and creating a squad team per part of the user journey. So that made it very easily for us to also say, okay, we're going to mirror that on our side, because also we happen to work on journeys. So yeah, it made our life easy.
Super interesting. I'm gonna ask you more later about it. Okay, so this clock is not working, so we have no idea about how much time we have.
That's a good point. I'm going to keep a time check on
Perfect.
here because we have we have 20 minutes.
Oh, perfect. So let's go into the core of our podcast. Usually what we do is that we ask, Andy has already explained, but we ask you about your mistakes. And the idea is that behind every success there are multiple mistakes. So that's what we want to know about it. The rule is simple. It needs to be embarrassing. It needs to be something that you are a little bit embarrassed to tell in front of the audience. That means that it's pretty good. So, who wants to start?
I can start. I can start embarrassing myself.
Okay, good. We don't. This is a safe space.
Yes, it's a very safe.
These
It's like all these
people are not gonna
people
judge you,
and broadcasted and recorded. I couldn't feel safer.
That's just an audience
that's
of
a
your
safe
industry
heaven.
peers.
Okay, so I've been asked by Andy and Jessica to come up with something really embarrassing, and the good thing is that they told me it doesn't have to be something related to a specific task you fucked up, like say banners or anything. It could be also just related to your professional life. So I'm going to share one story. I'm quite embarrassed. So what happened in one of my previous companies was my last week. I just signed a new contract already. Ready for the new challenge, and in my very last week, obviously, I organized goodbye drinks. And as always, I was late, so everybody was like, "Come on, come to your own party. You're super late." And there was one thing I needed to do before I go. I had to send an evaluation about my boss. It was this time of the year where you get to send your feedback about performances. Now the thing was that the boss of my boss back then, he sent an email CCing 12 to 15 people, so it's in CC, so I see anyway who's asked for the feedback, and then asking us for feedback. So I did my due diligence, I wrote my feedback, everything fine. However, what I did not notice, and who can guess, I hit reply all. Yeah, so I replied to all the 12 to 15 people with my feedback about my boss. And Belen gave me a good idea. How many of you can guess if it was a positive or negative one? Who says positive?
Hands up. 1.
Who says negative?
A lot more hands there.
Why would you say that?
Well, you were leaving the company.
That's true, but not because of my boss.
Okay.
So that's at least the good news. So I went to the bar and I'm like, hey, where is everybody? Party! And then people were coming to me and it's like, what did you do? I'm like, what did I do? I'm like, ready for it, give me a beer. And then they said, oh, you hit reply all. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like your feedback went to everybody. And obviously, I felt so bad. And then, so the good news is the feedback was very positive. So I'm sorry to disappoint. I know that you was expecting a drama, but it was a very positive feedback. So it was not such a big fuck up at the end. But because people like to talk, somebody went to my boss and say like, hey, you know what Dora did? She sent the feedback to everybody. And I think they even told him what I wrote. I don't know, people are nice. Yeah, so this was one of my most embarrassing moments ever.
It could have been much worse.
It could have been much worse, obviously.
Much worse.
It was a really positive review actually. So that was okay. But oh my God, until today I remember that, and I always check, did you reply all or did you reply only to that person? So that's my super embarrassing story.
Always good to have a good learning from this. Okay.
Yes, always check. Reply or reply all. It's very sensitive.
This is one of my nightmares, actually. Like, I think I did something similar back in the days, and it's like now I have a panic attack every time that I send a really bad email.
Yeah, that's why in Google it's so great. You can have the undo button.
I love that. Use it all the time.
I sometimes even do it just to see if it works. It works.
I have a similar sort of rule about sort of really checking that video conference calls have actually finished and been ended. Because thankfully I don't think I've ever had a terribly embarrassing incident there, but definitely at a previous company where I worked, there was an incident where two guys who were on the call were very unflattering about the customer they'd just spoken to, and then they got a text message like 15 minutes later. It's like, by the way, I was listening to all of that it was on a Skype call, so like they didn't even like see that the guy was still connected. But they were just like really trash talking a customer for 5 to 10 minutes.
And I don't want to freak you out, but we had a experience in my previous company where we were using WebEx. And a colleague of mine, he said they ended the call, so they really, click cancel, whatever it is, terminate. And he said he could still hear the other side, although on the platform it looked like it really ended. He said he could hear everything, and it was like similar fashion, like the person wasn't very happy, not with the person he spoke to in general, about things, but so be very careful. Just
spooky.
Check twice.
We could do almost a podcast about this alone.
Yeah, exactly. Nice, thank you so much. What about you, Belen? Do you have something embarrassing or not?
I was just raising all my communication mistakes as you were saying that. One more actual in the work related. I think it was some months ago, as we were putting more attention into our app's performance at a very granular level, we actually realized that our app code had been refactored about 8 months ago. Up until then, everything was fine and working, everything okay. The thing is that no one thought of checking whether our in-app prompt for review our app was still up. And after 7 months, we realized that had been removed from the code. So for 7 months, effectively, we had no app reviews on Android. Yeah.
Wow.
I was told this once, and I was like, wait, no, hang on a minute. You must be saying this wrong. Tell it to me again. It took me like at least 3 times of hearing it to really accept it. And then, we actually, in terms of impact, it was hard for us to recognize it because our average rating in Android is quite high, and it was maintained throughout all that time. But this came just some weeks before Android was going to change their calculation for average rating. So it was going to take into consideration recent ratings, 6 months maximum, than all the absolutes.
So it was going to basically like give a much higher weighting to recent reviews.
Yeah, correct. So we were probably going to move from somewhere to 4.7 to potentially 0. And
That's bad.
yeah.
Worst case scenario, 0.
Well, if you take the average of 0,
Yeah. 0.
it was easy to calculate as well. Yeah, so we very quickly expedited that on our mobile developers team's backlog, you can imagine. And hopefully thankfully it all worked well. Right now it hasn't had a massive performance impact, but certainly we've learned that lesson when it comes to our developer teams also checking App Store signals.
That makes sense. We actually have something similar, but we deleted the entire adjust tracking. It had a little bit of an impact. Just a little bit.
You just wanted to check and do it all over again.
Yeah, exactly, nothing. But, fun fact, it was our best month ever. So maybe it tells me something about it.
Maybe says a lot about your performance marketing capabilities, Jessica.
Lucky we are in a safe space.
Yeah, but I think actually this learning, or like this particular nightmare, of like some functionality that was in the app and was working fine, and then at some point stops working, and because there's no kind of continuous testing or kind of review of, people only check the new stuff that they've just implemented. They don't check that all the old stuff is working, with a full QA process. I think almost every company goes through this at some point. We definitely had it at SoundCloud at some point. That we dropped old functionality just stopped working, and we didn't notice right away. I think it's probably like one of the most common nightmares that happens, and it's always really bad when it happens. So, like at SoundCloud, we actually ended up putting in place like a really, really rigorous testing process that like every build would get run through like automated tests for like absolutely everything that was kind of mission critical. But it took us a long time to get there.
We've got now amazing incident guides. If you want a playbook at all, you can just ask our teams.
Nice.
Cool. So like both of those nightmares were semi-embarrassing, but I think they could have both been so much worse. Yeah. Like Belen, like you didn't actually like have your ratings crash, so like it's only half a nightmare, surely. But
I remember my emotional state at that time. I've had 6 weeks for Android to completely change this algorithm and see where we finish.
So there was the fear looming of you. It's like it could have worked out worse, though, right? Like in the end, like so. I think you were kind of lucky, but it seems like you had a few sleepless nights in the meantime.
Yeah.
And Dora, like you could have like been really trash talking your boss.
God, thanks God. And the guy's really nice, so I really was lucky. There was nothing bad to say about, so good.
Nice. Okay, so we have about just over 10 minutes left. So we have another section of our podcast, section which we call Brilliant or Bullshit, where we ask our guests to take an extreme position on one of the sort of current news stories. So we have a story that we dug out that's kind of current. And since this is a live episode and we have an audience in front of us, we're also going to ask the audience to call Brilliant or Bullshit on this. Are we going to try and do the theme tune for Brilliant or Bullshit?
Bring the bullshit.
Yeah.
It changes every time.
Yeah, I thought it was like...
But it's never less embarrassing. That's the nice part.
Okay, so there we go. We're very musical, multi-talented. Okay, so I have it right here in front of me. I'm not just playing with my phone. I actually have the article here. It's quite a long article, but so I'm going to just like attempt to summarize it. Instagram is launching a video music remix feature to finally fight back against Chinese social rival TikTok. So Instagram is rolling out this thing. They're calling it Instagram Reels, and it's basically a TikTok clone or TikTok competitor. Built into Instagram. They're testing it in markets where TikTok is not currently strong. So I think the main one is Brazil right now. I think a couple of other countries maybe. And yeah, they've already, like it's already live now. I'm not sure. Has anyone seen this, by the way? Has anyone seen Instagram Reels? Got like one hand from the influencer marketing firm.
Makes sense.
Nice.
How many people here are using instead TikTok?
Only a couple of hands. Yeah, somebody asked this earlier as well.
Oh, yeah?
And
sorry,
yeah, it was
here.
about the same number of hands. Like, yeah, for a bunch of mobile marketing folks, like we're not very...
we're old.
We're not very down with like these new platforms. Like this is a warning sign, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, I also don't use TikTok very much. I've tried it at least. Yeah, so clearly, like TikTok's huge, by the way. For those of you who haven't even seen it, it's like a platform where people can upload like silly videos, music videos sometimes, or just like little kind of jokes and memes. And it's like they can reach a wide audience very quickly. They can go super viral. There's a whole kind of generation of TikTok influencers on this platform already. It's it's from a company called ByteDance, and it's really like the fastest growing social platform right now. So not really surprising that Facebook would want to to kind of compete with that and potentially kind of disrupt TikTok. So I'm just going to try and pull up a couple of other quotes from the article. So yeah, it says. Cloning TikTok is not just about the features, though. Reels does a good job of copying the core ones. Creating scripted content is totally new for most Instagram users, so could feel too showy or goofy for an app known for its seriousness. So this is like in the article, they're basically questioning whether this is going to work for Facebook as a move, because maybe there's a different audience there. So let's put it out to before we ask our guests to kind of take a position on this. I'm curious to know, in the audience, what do you think of Facebook's move here? Do you think it's brilliant that they're like a brilliant move by Facebook that they're cloning TikTok, or is it bullshit? So first of all, show of hands for brilliant. Okay, how many is that? I'd say maybe 25%. So the rest of you think it's bullshit? Okay, even fewer hands. So a lot of people that didn't vote. Okay, you're not really getting the idea of brilliant or bullshit. It's one or the other.
No middle ground.
Okay, so let's put that to the guests. Belen, brilliant or bullshit on this, and why?
Brilliant. I think there's a reason why TikTok has not penetrated Brazil's market. And could it be that they're not as goofy or that doesn't resonate as well? But Instagram taking a different spin-off on how to actually use a video plus music feature is very interesting. From our times at SoundCloud, you know that Brazil was our, I think, number 3 or number 5 music in terms of active listeners. So definitely a huge music market. Also, we know a huge Instagram fan base. So yeah, I think it could really work.
Okay, very definitive, brilliant there. Dora?
Yeah, I also think it's a brilliant idea. It's not the first time that Instagram takes another idea from a different app, that it's an absolute success. So the Instagram stories proved to be extremely effective. Everybody loves them. So this was a great move, and this is yet another one. So I think that it's not the first time that copying a good idea is a good idea in itself, just because it already has proven to work and people know how it works. So you save yourself the educational phase, you save yourself explaining what it is. So I think it's a very smart move, and I won't be surprised to see it work very well.
What about you, Andy? You have to say bullshit because we can't have everyone on.
Yeah, I'm going to take the bullshit position. I'm quite confident that Facebook probably can pull it off, because they've cloned Snapchat with Instagram Stories and took a lot of their market share away and took a lot of the wind out of Snapchat sales. They're pretty good at copying things and rolling them out and doing them well. So yeah, fine, call it brilliant if you want, but I think it's bullshit that Facebook own everything, and that they're probably just going to own like this this new innovative social channel. It's just going to become another Facebook property. And frankly, I think that's bullshit. I'm sick of all of my apps being owned by Facebook.
So what you don't like is monopolies, not this move.
I just think it's another bullshit monopolistic move. Yes, exactly.
Yes. It's just being bullshit for fun, I can see.
Jessica, what about you?
I need to work with these platforms. I don't want to have to launch campaigns on TikTok, so I want to launch all of them on Facebook. Much easier to manage. Brilliant. I love it. Please copy more. No, but I think I really love. I'm a huge fan of Instagram Stories. It's my new TV. That's how I spend my free time. Sad. And I can see right now already that a lot of influencers, they send their followers on TikTok, but they're not really TikTok natives. So I see a lot of people sending people there, but it would be much easier to just incorporate everything into Instagram. I was a little bit concerned about the fact that now Instagram is everything. It's like is a photography platform, but it's also like something where you share your day-to-day activities, and now it's going to be more goofy and more fun, like a comedian kind of things. So it's just a bit weird, but I think it also makes sense that everything is like just in one place. And again, it just makes my life so much easier. So let's see. There is a really nice part of it that, I mean, you read it before, that he says like, is it gonna work? Because Instagram is more serious, although, I don't know, is it serious? Like, not sure. While TikTok is like, you make fun of yourself. So are people really gonna willing to make fun of themselves in front of everyone? But it seems that, I mean, most of the influencers do, so maybe it's gonna work. I hope it's gonna work.
Because it makes your life easier.
Yes.
Because you can just spend money with one platform.
We want your life to be easier.
Everyone needs to think about themselves.
Okay, great. We actually have like 4 minutes left, but I think we're gonna like wrap it up here because we're kind of at the end of the show. So we'll we'll let the next folks come on, or we take a short break. So I just want to say thank you very much to our wonderful guests and their nightmare stories. So Belen, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Dora.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to our audience. Don't have nightmares.